Lamine Yamal steps into McDonald's, looks left, sees Pulisic, looks right, sees Jimenez. Gives a nod to Ronaldinho in the corner with a FIFA World Cup meal. Ronaldinho sees Son in the booth. Son finds Beckham going for extra Big Mac sauce. He's got Davies at the table just behind him. Davies going for his collectible cup. Oh no! A steal by Henry, who pulls his own collectible cup. Collect one of 9 legendary cups with a FIFA World Cup meal.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last. All rights reserved. 2026 McDonald's at FIFA World Cup 2026.
Are all batteries the same? That's like asking if all soccer players are the same. Take Messi, the most decorated player ever. Is there any other player who has achieved that? No, just him. Now take Duracell. Is there any other battery with power boost ingredients inside? No, just Duracell. Remember, goats only trust goats because they're built different. And Messi only trusts Duracell.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them? That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
It's undoubtedly the best-known rowing regatta in the world and a highlight of both the British summer in sporting terms and socially. It attracts thousands of visitors across the week, and those spectators will be thrilled by more than 400 races of an international standard. I'm John.
And I'm Michael. Henley Royal Regatta will take place again later this month, with crews featuring well-known rowers, as well as crews new to the event. This is Great British Bosses from Anything But Footy, and we love our rowing here, whether it's the World Cups, the Olympics or Paralympic Games, or working with Times Radio on their exclusive coverage of the university boat races. But there's something very special about an event which dates back to 1839.
And I'm Richard Phelps, chair of Henley Royal Regatta. I'm actually chair of the committee that runs Henley Royal Regatta, and I'm delighted to be here.
Firstly, Richard, an event that dates back to 1839, Michael mentioned the boat races. There aren't many of these things that date that far back, are there?
No. And obviously, if you want to really sort of marry the two together, Henley Royal Regatta came out of the first boat race. So the first boat race took place on the Henley Reach, longest natural strait where they could have their race. It drew a great crowd to watch that race, which is good. Roll the clock forward about 9 years. Henley was a place where local produce producers or growers would bring their wares to go on boats to go downriver to get to London. Suddenly, another town had a station. So all the producers were going there with their goods. So about 9 years after that first boat race, Henley got a bit quiet. And the business folk of Henley said, what are we going to do to bring the people back? And they said, well, that rowing race we had 9 years ago was pretty good. Why don't we have one of those? And so they had a meeting in the town hall in 1839 and resolved to organize an annual regatta, which would be good for the business folk of Henley Town. So that is where Henley Regatta came from. It grows out of exactly that very first boat race. And, it has been run every year since then, except for the war years. It's a pretty exceptionally old event. And one thing I would say about it is each event, so we have different categories of athletes and different events per category. Some of them, like the Grand, which was the first event that was raced in 1839. The trophy for that is, iconic and it's beautiful, it's magnificent. But we now have 30 events and each event has their own trophy. And these trophies are, 190, 180, 170. We have, I would say, probably the best collection of currently still in use trophies of any sporting event. I mean, clearly there are some amazing trophies that are used, but they have one. The America's Cup is one trophy. We have 30. And the ones that are new for our new events, they are made by, we deliberately go out and find British silversmiths to make them and craft them. And for our new women's events, and we can come on to that, we've gone out and found female silversmiths in the UK to design these iconic trophies. So that's one thing about Henley, is that if you've got no interest in the rowing or the drinking, just come and look at our trophies, because they are to die for.
So how also do you get the royal tag? Because we know about Royal Ascot as part of the season, which Henley is, but how do you get the royal tag?
That was courtesy of Prince Albert, who visited in 1851, had a great time, and gave us royal patronage. And obviously, I think if he did, Queen Victoria rubber stamped it, and ever since then the monarch has agreed to be the patron of Henley Royal Regatta, which we were delighted that the current King Charles III agreed post his coronation. So we carry on as Henley Royal Regatta.
So tell us a bit about the size and the scope of the event. Someone coming down, how many days are we looking at these days? Because it started as one afternoon. How many races? How many finals?
Since 2022, we've been a 6-day regatta. Starts on the Tuesday, finishes on the Sunday. This year we expect to have circa 400 races. It could be a bit more, could be a bit less. Racing will start at roughly 9:30 in the morning, finish at 7:30 in the evening. The range of events will go from junior events. We have events for students, we have events for people rowing for clubs, we have events for people aspiring to make national team, and then we have the premier events for the Olympic level. We cater for everything, and that's one of the really wonderfully special things about Henley Royal Regatta, is that everyone uses the same boat tent. We have these right next to the bridge, next to the enclosures. We have a boat tent, which is, to me, the beating heart of the regatta. It's where the athletes are, where the coaches are, where everyone gathers to clap their favourite crews out. And literally, you can be a school kid, and the rack above you or next to you is the Olympic champion. Your hero is boating right next to you. And, often those Olympic heroes will engage and chat and share stories. So it's a wonderful moment where you've got those who are still aspiring and dreaming, talking to their absolute sporting heroes, and they're competing from the same boat tent at different levels, but on the same course, so they can share stories. To me, that's one of the wonderful things. And Henley, if you've been here, it's a beautiful and relatively small town. And I would say, having been to one Olympics, Henley almost becomes like an Olympic village. Every shop, every restaurant, every coffee stall has got someone competing, and they all know each other, and they all shuffle around together. So literally for the 10 days, the build up to and Henley Royal Regatta, Henley is like an Olympic village. Virtually every other person is a competitor, and they all know each other. It's wonderful.
Is the rowing competitive, or is it all just fizz and pimms?
It's very competitive. Oh my God. What is unique about Henley on the water is that it's side by side. It's gladiatorial. It's more boat race like than the Olympics, Paralympics, which are six or World Cup, which are 6 lanes. The point about Henley is like a boxing match. If you can come out and slug some punches and make hits really early on, you can secure the win and you can proceed to the next round. The worst thing is you don't land that punch and you end up having an absolute humdinger all the way down the course. So it is competitive on the water. And then, of course, it is a great party on the bank. And from my perspective, that's the perfect combination, because the party goers, if someone comes to Henley, has a great time and never watches the race, so what? They had a good time. That's what matters to them. But most of them will come down and watch a good race. And and the great thing about Henley is, so last year's finals day, or weekend, semi-finals and finals day, some of the biggest cheers were for the junior women's eights, 2 local clubs fighting it out, and literally you could not hear yourself think in the enclosure. The roar was just beyond anything I've heard. And then the other one was in the Olympic level women's double sculls, where the Dutch were leading and the Greeks never gave up. Lightweight Greeks never gave up. And they literally took the lead for the first time on the finish line. And they won by a bow ball. And that drew a crazy crowd, because no one could believe these Greeks weren't going to just give up against the Dutch Olympic medalists. And they didn't. And they won. So, look, what makes a great race? It doesn't have to be always Olympic level. Just make it close. make it passionate. And you've got that wonderful Henley experience, which is that because there's no other venue where you've literally got, as you approach the finish, crowd on either side within feet of the rowers. There's no other venue that has that. It is the closest we get to a sort of a stadium effect.
And you talked to us about the trophies that were up for grabs, and you've mentioned there are a couple of races that I wouldn't even know would have been at Henley. So it isn't just about the men's eight. That's not what it's about.
Absolutely and categorically not. Although there's someone who rode the men's eight several times. Obviously, I have a bit of a bias. No, and you raise a very good point because this year we've added 3 new women's events. So we now have, that was our final step in our journey to gender parity. We will cut 2 men's events after this year's regatta, and there will be an equal number of women's and men's events. So it is not just about the men's eight. And often, not often, it is possible that events away from the men's Olympic level eight will draw a bigger crowd. And it could be smaller boats. I mean, we have eights and quads and fours and pairs and singles and doubles. So we have every boat class. What the Henley crowd like, nothing more, is for a British crew to row through a non-British crew down the enclosure.
That's what I was going to ask. That the fact that you mentioned the Greek team and the Dutch team from last year, it is a global competition. People want to come here from around the world to compete.
Yeah. And we've been broadcasting Henley for free for the last 10, 11 years now, and that broadcast has really made our event globally more recognised certainly within the rowing community. Those who weren't aware of it were now very aware of it. It is on virtually every rower's bucket list. Every rower wants to have rowed at Henley. Last year, the Dutch women, they didn't win the double sculls. They lost the Greeks, but they won the Olympic eight, the Remenham Challenge Cup. And what was great was talking to them, and they said, clearly the most important race of my life was winning gold at the Olympics in Paris. The best race of my life was winning here at Henley. So we know where we stand in the pecking order. Nothing is more important than the Olympics. That it has to be the pinnacle of any rower's career. World Championships are a very important stepping stone for anyone on their way to Olympic glory. But Henley and that red box with the Henley medal inside it, that is what every rower wants to have. And they want that experience. We're very old-fashioned. We have a prize giving after all the racing. All the athletes have to get dressed up, sit in their chairs, they get called forward, they get their trophy, photograph taken, big cheer from the crowd, and they all peel off and they'll do their photograph in the deck chairs or whatever. So very old-fashioned. There are pictures that you could put in black and white. You could go back 100 years. But this generation of rowers want that experience.
And when you talk about the importance of Henley and you talk about the importance of Olympic rowing, you're being quite modest, Richard, because you've done both.
I have, but as my children pointed out to me when we sat down and watched many Olympics, you didn't get an Olympic medal, did you? Which was, a bit crushing when Olympic after Olympic, British seem to win gold medals as if they hand them out like candy. So yes, I went to 92. I was in the British eight. We made the final. Frustratingly, we had got a bronze medal at the World Championships the year before, but it was nothing like the same crew. British selectors, in their wisdom, decided to change it all around. So so it wasn't the best campaign, wasn't the most professional campaign. I got there, I got the T-shirt, we gave it a best, and it wasn't the result I was hoping for.
Here's something you can tell your kids, though, because I've just looked it up. AI tells me that only 0.0000017% of the global population, so that's about 1 in every 500,000 people, have got to compete in the Olympic Games. So you did it, and in an era before lottery money and the professionalism and British rowing, a very different organisation then to what it is now. To have got to the Games in that 80s, 90s time, very much a different sort of beast to what it is now for the guys that are competing for Team GB and Paralympics GB.
Well, thank you very much, and wish I had AI in 2008, 2012. You're quite right. The British team, thanks to lottery funding, is in a much better place than it was when I was rowing and competing. But at the same time, geez, do those athletes go through a hard grind. I remember making the bold move and gave up work in 1990 to focus on the Olympics and, began doing 2 sessions a day. This generation are doing 3 sessions a day every day. This generation that do an Olympiad based in the Caversham with the national team, they have my huge respect because they put the miles in, they put the hours in, and they're very resilient and they deserve the success they get.
Couple of questions for me to finish on the Henley and the Olympics. You followed Sir Steve Redgrave as chair. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody wants to follow Sir Steve Redgrave doing anything, do they?
Well, he always beat me in races, so I was used to following him. You're right. Big shoes to fill. The whole point of Henley is that it will be here when we're all gone. Each of us just have a short leasehold, as it were, on the freehold that is Henley Royal Regatta. So yeah, look, Steve was as a chair, he oversaw a lot of things. He was there when he had broadcast. He was the one who really wanted to drive the journey to gender parity. We had COVID whilst he was chair, few challenges. We went to 6 days. So, and I was on the committee with him. So, in some ways, a big character and shoes to fill. But for those who don't know, those who sort of run the regatta, there are about 70 people who are the stewards of Henley Royal Regatta. Now, most people, when they think of stewards, think of the high vis wearing people at football matches. So the same 1839 meeting I referred to, as well as talking about an annual regatta for townfolk, they also spoke about people who were going to bring judicious and respectable management. And after 2 or 3 years, they asked local dignitaries to bring that judicious and respectable management and to steward the regatta through time. And so those people were known as the stewards of Henley Royal Regatta. So it's more the stewardship concept. And we now have about 70 stewards. You don't know you're in contention to be made a steward. You just get the phone call to inform you that you are one. So when I got the phone call, complete surprise. Had no idea what the person was talking about. And you're a steward for life. So, you are there and your primary responsibility is to leave the regatta in a better shape than you found it. That's why when Baron Pierre de Coubertin visited Henley in 1893, he was so impressed by the sort of culture and the mindset and the integrity and the selflessness of the people who ran Henley that he copied the Constitution. And the IOC Constitution was initially a cut and paste of the Henley Constitution. I think they've gone on to do a few different things since then.
just the odd one. But you mentioned about the legacy that you have to leave. Is there that pressure? And just wondering, because certainly in the last few years, Wimbledon have moved their tournament to the same kind of period when you had it. It never used to clash, but now they do. How do you keep relevant?
If you got any ins into Sally Bolton, you could ask her to move back if you don't mind. Well, their second week is after us. So those who are absolute tennis diehards will go to the second week and still come to us. And those who are over in the UK during the summer season will find a day to come to us as well as go to Wimbledon. I come from a financial services banking background. Steve, clearly, we all know his background was exemplar in sport. Before Steve, the chairman was Mike Sweeney, who was operations director for what was then a respectable business called Water Companies. And before him was a barrister. So, I guess my focus is slightly more on the commerce aspect, the business aspect. I think I don't know what my legacy will be. I'll let those after me decide. But historically, we've been a rowing regatta that has an event. And I want to flip that mindset. We are a business. We're an events business that deliver the world's best regatta. And we need to always think about how we constantly improve that audience experience. We have 4 strategic principles: stewardship, which I've talked about, an ever better competitor experience, an ever better audience experience, and community. So those are our 4 principles, and we have to make sure every decision we make satisfies at least one of those principles. If it doesn't satisfy any, we shouldn't be doing it. The ever better audience experience allows us to reinvest and make it even better for everyone.
That sounds like a pretty good place to finish, but I do have one more question for a man whose background is in banking. How are you in charge of an organisation that has to pay one of your key partners an egg? Explain.
Oh, okay, fine. At the start of the course is Temple Island, which is an iconic bit of folly built in, I'm going to get it wrong, I want to say 17 something by the then owner of Fawley Court. That was put on the market and was purchased for us by one of our stewards. You know, his gift to the regatta was to buy Temple Island, which is the most wonderful gift. And for some reason, the purchase agreement, we as a regatta lease it from the trustees that look after the island, and our rent or lease payment is an egg every year. Now, I think to begin with, it was genuinely an egg, and now it's got more and more exotic. And there is one person whose mission is to go around the world and find the most exotic. We haven't quite gone to a Fabergé yet. I mean, I think that would be, if we could afford the Fabergé egg, we wouldn't be paying the rent. So yes, it is a crazy thing. On a Saturday, as chair of the regatta, on the Saturday of the regatta, as chair, I have to humbly offer my egg as payment to the chair of the trustees of Temple Island. I think once it was the Kinder chocolate egg, one of those. So it can vary in appropriateness and value.
Fantastic. And if people want to see, by the way, what Temple Island looks like, the very opening scenes of the London 2012 Olympic opening ceremony, they fly over it, and there's lots of Olympians stood on Temple Island all waving at the camera.
Yeah. Now you mention it, yes.
That is where some people, if you review that, if you go on the video sharing sites, you can watch that opening bit of the London 2012 Olympics and you'll see Temple Island. Richard Phelps, chair of the committee which organises the Henley Royal Regatta, thank you very much for speaking to Great British Bosses from Anything But Footy.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Tires matter. They're the only part of your vehicle that touches the road. Tread confidently with new tires from Tire Rack. Whether you're looking for expert recommendations or know exactly what you want, Tire Rack makes it easy. Fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, convenient installation options, and the best selection of Pirelli tires. Go to TireRack.com to see their Pirelli test results, tire ratings, and reviews, and be sure to check out all the special offers. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.